Very impressive result against somebody whose brain is as massive as Ragnarok. So yeah, Heart Rex. We are now going to be continuing our bracket run here, or rather our players here are going to be continuing their bracket runs on Ancient Cistern, where in the top right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in that top right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg player coming down from the land of Korea, representing Onsite Gaming OSG. He is Sola.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent, the American Protoss player representing Alpha X. It is Astrea.
Now, I know all maps are symmetrical light, but looking at the mini-map here of Ancient Cistern, I feel like this is one of the more symmetrical maps.
Oh yeah, just slice it through the middle and all layers are alike.
Diagonally, horizontally, vertically, all of it.
Yeah, however you want to slice it, Bobby. So yeah, I think that this may become, again, we have very limited information when it comes to the overall map pool, but for the time being, this seems to be like one of the more macro-oriented maps, Ancient Cistern that is. So I imagine we're going to be seeing this kind of rise in popularity, and we're going to see this map quite a bit more often.
I think this might be next Inside and Out. Potentially. I mean, I believe it has more bases than Inside and Out, but when it comes to the layout, I think it will encourage a lot of split map scenarios early on.
Oh yeah, it is quite possible. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. You know, we've got some rocks in the center of the map that can be cleared up for more direct kind of directional pushes. Outside of that, though, like, we don't have any kind of fancy gold bases or any kind of fancy features of the map itself. Yeah, other than, of course, we were talking about it in game one, the very large main.
Yeah. Big Steel sent in the chat. He gives it a 4 out of 5 Nidus ability rating.
That's quite a high rating.
It is.
Oh my god. And this is why.
What's a 5 out of 5?
5 out of 5? It's just the map is your main.
Oh.
But this is why I love casting Astrea. We were talking about this when we were casting him earlier this week. Of course, Astrea, he is willing to mix things up, and he has not opened with a Stargate.
Not at all. That is a Twilight Council first, and that is a Robo follow-up. Pretty common as a follow-up to Twilight Councils, but I'm just keeping my eyes on the production tab light. I want to see how many more gateways Astrea gets before making any bold predictions.
Yeah, here we go. So 2 additional gates. So we have 3 gates in total, and we have glaives on the way here. We have pulled out a gas, so this is the kind of typical glaive opener that we are accustomed to. We shouldn't see this be too committed. Actually, if you remember, we saw this very same build earlier this week. It's very iconic to Astrea, going for 3 gate glaives.
Yeah, 3 glaives with Warp Prism, sends them across the map. It's a little bit more committed than your typical 3-gate, because obviously you are looking to warp in quite a bit more, but it's still flexible enough that it allows him to tech up, and quite often we see him tech up into Robo Bay. This time, though, it is a Dark Shrine.
Ooh, I was about to echo that as well, that typically he goes into Disruptor production, but we can see no, a Dark Shrine, and unfortunately for Astrea, that is scouted. This Overlord did confirm the tech. Oh!
It's a fake out!
He's doing what we thought he was doing to begin with.
You'll love to see it.
Oh my god, so
I love being right.
So Disruptor's going to be on the way, but obviously that wasn't plan A. This is plan B. Unfortunately, he had to divert from the DTs. He wanted to be a little bit more cheeky, bearing in mind that Solar hasn't scouted the fact that the Dark Shrine was cancelled.
Yeah, he is going to be spamming Spore Crawlers, or at least that's what Astrea is hoping for right now. Solar playing a lot with fire right now. Only now throwing out the Spore Crawlers.
Yeah, there we go. Spores are on the way. Solar cut drones very early on. We can see Solar, he is down to 38 drones. He's making a lot of links, he's making a lot of roaches. Now, what's dangerous is that if Astrea loses too many of these adepts, it's going to trigger a massive counterattack. Solar is going to have a lot of supply to work with, so Astrea has to be very careful not to lose too many units.
Yeah, that's why it makes a lot of sense that Astrea isn't committing to any big shades. He is just keeping his adepts in the outskirts of the bases, trying to deny... Oh! Ooh. Trying to keep that army of Solars in check while he gets his disruptors, while he gets his Robotech.
And we can see that Astrea, he isn't real. Solar isn't really looking to push out. He's droning as we speak. He's taking up into Lair. He should be taking another base. He's moving out with his Lings at least, but the Adepts are already back home. Like, this third base is looking quite secure. Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah. Oh, but the natural and the main do not look secure whatsoever. Neither do these disruptors.
We have a recall to try and say that this is a massive pick of one disruptor is gonna go down. Astrea, the wall was not a wall. The Lings, they come back. Oh, they want the second disruptor. They're not gonna get it. That's a little bit greedy, but regardless, this was a massive pick off from Solar.
Yeah, especially this early on. Think about how much percentage-wise when it comes to the income that disruptor costs, especially when you're still on two bases.
Yeah, that even this weakens this push by so much. Astrea has to wait for a second disruptor, or a third disruptor, sorry. The Adepts are moving on out, and that's a lot of Adepts, to be fair, but this is scouted by Solar, and Solar now has time to get ready.
And get ready he is. He cut drones once again. 60 workers is fine for this stage of the game. He's producing nothing but Lings and Roaches.
Yeah, at the same time he's going for a Ling Rama. He's going to force a Warpin back at home. Isn't going to be dealing too much damage, but he's forcing a little bit of attention back at the third base of Astrea. Meanwhile, in come those Adepts. In comes the Novas.
He is able to land one of them, but unfortunately one Nova is not enough to kill a Queen.
Oh, exactly. The Queens do barely manage to survive. At the same time, a couple of Adepts are going to shade in towards the natural, but the units, there are plenty of them. Lings and Roaches clean them up. And it looks like Solar, for the most part, he is holding quite well. There's only a single disruptor here. The Nova's going to go off again. Ooh.
And that gets quite a number of Roaches, but once again, it was only a single disruptor. It was only a single Purification Nova. It wasn't enough to really dampen the defenses of Solar. Astrea, I was wondering why he wasn't warping in. It turns out it's because Solar kept counterattacking. Yeah, and he was forcing warp-ins back home.
As we can see, Stalkers are warped in back at home instead. We do see the Adepts across the map have been cleaned up. And Solar, as he was defending, threw down a Spire, so he is getting into his mutas.
And Astrea is pretty much defenseless against these mutas. He's getting Blink now, but he doesn't have that many Stalkers to really deal with. Yeah. He doesn't want to make that many Stalkers either, because he's in the middle of transitioning.
Cannons and shield batteries are on the way, but they're still on the way. They're going to be targeted down by these mutas. Meanwhile, we have a warping of Stalkers as well, but it's not going to be enough. The Stalkers are being focused down. Mutas are deflected. They haven't dealt too much economic damage yet. And, two mutas go down.
Oh no! The Warp Prism, though, has the Disruptor inside it. That's another heavy loss.
Massive pickoffs once again. Solar, he's just so good at finding these stray disruptors whenever he can. And Astrea is really struggling here. I mean, he finally has Blink, and he finally is, mentally and physically prepared here for mutas, but at this point, Solar now has the freedom to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he is taking map control. He's forcing and containing Astrea on these three bases while he gets a fourth. He drones up to 80 plus workers, or soon to be 80 plus workers, and from there, like you said, Solar can do whatever he wants. He can get high, he can get even more Mutalisk, he can decide to go into more Spire play, or get an Ultra Cavern, Lurkers even, anything's possible. Yeah, remember, Lurkers didn't get nerfed.
They got buffed even, Poppy. Slightly. As we do see, Creep is now being spread. There's the fifth base on the way for Solar. Again, he has all the freedom in the world. He's clearing up whatever rocks he can. He is looking to cut workers here at 76. Not a bad drone count to stop at, as he's focusing here on a major push. The wall, once again, isn't a wall, by the way. I don't know if that's going to come into play, but okay. Astrea, he is in position.
Well, who needs the wall to be a wall or not when you can just go over the wall? says Solar. He's drawing a lot of, he's distracting a lot of the Stalker force while he just gets his main army ready outside the expansions of Astrea. Solar's not quite maxed out, but he's getting there.
Yeah, Solar's getting ready for a bit of a tri-pronged attack, but the Disruptors are moving out, and again, these 3 Disruptors, they have a lot of potential. Solar's going to try and dive on in. The Novas are going to be able to zone away the army. Oh, God!
Oh, at least initially, that was a huge, juicy connection here for Astrea. Maybe enough to keep him alive. There aren't a lot of Lings or Banelings left, nor Roaches, to be fair. With the use of the shield battery, I think Astrea might be able to hold, but to what end?
Oh, the Banelings, they try to get into the mineral line, but great control there by Astrea. Great body blocking as well with those Blink Stalkers. He barely loses any workers, and now Astrea can go for a counterattack. Solar just spent a lot of supply, not doing much in the end, getting a little bit of damage, trading with the army. But at the same time, Astrea is also feeling pretty committed and pretty all in.
Yeah, I mean, he has to at this point. There's no way he can get 4th base, and right now the army is looking a lot better for Astrea. Solar coming in for a multi-prong though, a surround.
Yeah, he collapses on the army from behind. The Disruptor is going to go down. We have another behind this with the main army, so Astrea can keep on pushing. But as you were pointing out, like, there's no expansion. You know, like, Astrea, he just cannot take a 4th base. We have Warpins back at home because we don't even have a Prism with the main army. Meanwhile, the Disruptor once again is exposed.
And will be taken out. Solar, you know, despite losing all of that supply in the initial attack, he had a bank. He had a lot of mining. He can remax as many times as necessary. Well, not as many times as necessary, but he can remax a few more times. Astrea, as long as he's losing units, he cannot replace them.
Exactly, and he is expanding behind this. We do have a 4th base on the way for Astrea, but right now he's focusing on trying to keep the attention of Solar on these Blink Stalkers. Solar, though, is getting ready for another surround. He's coming in from behind with his Lings.
And he is able to get the vast majority of these Stalkers.
Oh, yeah, Stalkers are getting picked up. Another Nova's going to be going off here, but it doesn't connect. He only gets a single Baneling, and now there's nothing stopping Solar.
He is just collapsing on in. 34 Lings are on the way. +2 melee is about to finish up as well.
Yeah, exactly. And here we go. The Road Ravagers made it all the way across map. The Blink Stalkers are not having a lot of room to blink backwards. One Disruptor is saved by the Prism, and another Nova is going to go up. Oh my god.
Really impressive split here from Solar right in the end. Astrea, he's fighting his heart out. I think he is controlling these Blink Stalkers about as well as he could in this situation, but he just lost that 4th base. It wasn't a cancel, and I think he's really starting to bleed out. You know, he's patching up his wounds with duct tape and staples, but he's bleeding out.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the medical attention he requires. Novas are going to be going up, getting some decent connections, but Solar, his splits have been good enough, and unfortunately for Astrea, Solar's economy has been left untouched. He hasn't been losing drones. You can see, looking at the units lost tab, he's only lost 3 workers this entire game. He's been left to his own devices, and once again, another surround. Solar's engagements with these Blink Stalkers have been insane. He really wants to deal with this mineral line. He really wants to get in there, but he can't. Oh!
He can't, but he can kill the main army.
Yeah. He can indeed. GG gets called.
Solar stayed in that game just to connect Banelings with those probes. Out of sheer spite. Like, you should have been dead long ago. I love it. I'm here for it.
He just needed the dopamine hits, okay?
Yeah.
Oh my god. But very well done there by Solar. Very good scouting overall. Not just scouting, but also at just finding these opportunities. I say finding because I don't think many of them were intentional, but like he just somehow came across 3 Disruptors every now and then, you know?
He really did. I will say really good on Solar, not just when it comes to scouting, because if you recall, he didn't actually scout the Robo Bay initially. He thought it was a dark shrine coming his way, but regardless, I think he kind of mentally primed himself and said, okay, I need to defend. I just need to defend. and then I'll be good for the rest of this game. He did that very, very well, and like you said, he just found opportunities here and there to just further weaken Astrea after the initial push didn't go his way. That wall not being a wall, thinking back on it just hurts me so much.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Astrea use that build to great success in the past, but yeah, the lethal weakness of, I think, every Protoss player.
Pretty much.
It's a wall.
Pretty much. And here is the player himself who did abuse the lack of walls. We have spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, the South Korean Zerg player representing on Side Gaming. It is Solar.
And going into the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the top right-hand corner, we have a red Protoss player coming down from the land of America. Doing a special case here in the land of Agrabah, apparently.
Oh.
We have Detective Max Angel himself representing Alpha X. He is Astrea.
Here he's been
I think it was called Agrabah.
Yeah, he's been commissioned by the Sultanate.
Yeah.
He is here on official duties. And we even have a railing, like a pillar, like pillars here.
We do. It's just like in Aladdin. Wait, but is that? Wait, but there's like an empty apartment building behind that, or an abandoned apartment building.
No, don't worry about that. Look, there's only so much that they can work with.
See, I like the headcanon, and they just rebuilt.
There you go, mate. There you go.
Top of the apartments.
But yeah, just touching on what you were talking about, especially when it comes to solo that last game, I guess what he really did excel at was finding the room, finding the freedom, and the mental fortitude of just going for constant run-bys, constant counterattacks, and being able to force these mistakes out of Astrea. And yeah, we'll see if he can do it again, because there wasn't anything else like too fancy about Solar's play. You know, he was just able to find these openings and abuse his opponent a little bit. It's going to be on Astrea to kind of tighten up and make sure he doesn't kind of give these opportunities to Solar and doesn't expose himself anywhere near as much.
Yeah, well, already we have a pretty good. I think we have a pretty good sign. We are not on Gresvin.
True. Yeah, Gresvin, if you want to expose yourself, that's the map to do it on. Oh god. As we are seeing a Stargate opener here from Astrea, so he's kind of reverting back to the norm. He's playing meta. We're not having any kind of weird glaive openers.
Yeah, a little bit safer coming out from Astrea this time. You know, if he goes to the Oracles, he'll have the opportunity to go across the map, scout, harass. If need be, he can always turn around with them and just defend against Lings, which is a very real possibility in this current map pool.
Oh yeah, very real indeed. The first adept is across the map. He's just going to be checking, confirming the drone count at the natural, confirming that there is even a third base before getting out there. Oh, we even have a proxy pylon thrown down from Astrea. We'll see if he makes use of it. He does have a second gateway on the way. He could throw down a third across the map. He could if he had a probe out here, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say the possibilities are there, but for now they're just possibilities.
Yeah, it's really peculiar. Like, he was very intentionally utilizing this pylon to provide a little bit of surface area and keep this adept safe. You can also still go for the slow warp ins, as Astrea goes for an Oracle first, but he goes for a Void Ray second.
He is playing this very, very safe. I think we did see this from him this week during the DreamHack replay cast. Astrea just really wanting to keep his opponents on their toes, unless that was Mana.
Mana was the one who went Skytoss, yes.
There we go.
He went double Stargate carrier. He was an animal, Papi. But Astrea, he did mix in kind of the Void Ray openers as well. Meanwhile, we do see Two Adepts shading on in. Ooh, Two Adepts getting 3 drones is not too bad here from Astrea.
Yeah, it really isn't too bad. He just really needs to make sure that he doesn't lose his Oracle now. So that's really his only way of being active on the map and scouting.
Yeah, here we go. The Oracle is diving on in. No sport here at the third, so Solar's being punished a little bit. One more drone is going to be going down. We do see a massive lane counterattack, but the Void Ray should be in the area. Void Ray was a little bit too busy dealing with an Overlord, and ooh, the Zealots are going to get taken out. They weren't on hold position.
Immediately, they were surrounded. Will the Zerglings actually be able to take this out? It's getting closer, it's getting close, it's getting low! The Oracle turns around to try to deal with this! The Nexus is forced to cancel in the end. Bit of an annoying loss here if you're Astrea.
That is brutal, and we were talking about Astrea having to tighten up here, and that was part of it. Those Zealots were not on hold position, so they were surrounded immediately. They were tucked in with this pylon for a while there, but because they exposed themselves, suddenly that base was that much more vulnerable, and losing that third like this just puts him behind. Oh,
turns out it's not just Gressman that you can expose yourself at, but Astrea is looking to reciprocate the damage. He is able to get a lot of drone damage, actually. He finds himself up 10 workers, which is huge for a Protoss player.
That also means, though, that these Oracles are out of energy. We see Lings trying to go for a bit of a counterattack. Not just a counterattack, we have Banelings on the way, so Solar is going for a bust. He is droning behind this, but he's going to have to deal some damage.
Oracles? I think the Oracles just missed the Banelings.
Yeah. They barely did miss them. The Banelings are getting ready here. The Oracles, they do come across them.
But is there time to take him out before they bust on through? He doesn't even need to bust on through. There was no shield battery here. The Lings were able to deal with that Stalker, and now these probes are in a lot of trouble. Already 10 of them go down, and there are still Banelings where that came from.
Oh, the Banelings, they connect. 22 workers are going down, and the Lings are cleaning up what else is left. You were talking about Astrea. He was ahead by 10 workers. He wasn't doing too bad harassing with his own Oracles, but we saw that the Banelings were missed. Astrea, he didn't know, he taps out!
GG is called in the end, and Sola takes that series 2-0. And I was gonna go into this whole thing of, like, you know, if this was any other Protoss player, I'd consider losing that many drones this early on game-ending damage. But we did see Astrea recently lose that amount of probes early on, but was still able to claw his way back into eventually into a victory. Today was not. But I guess today is not one of those days here for Detective Max Angel. So GG, in the end, Solar will crush his way on through to a 2-0 victory. He really doesn't want to play the late game.
GG gets cold. I mean, it was just a really rough position for Astrea to be in. It wasn't just him losing 20 plus workers. It's also the fact that his third base was even cancelled earlier as well, and it was so close to finishing. He was just being beaten time and time again. And behind this, it's not like Solar was all in. He was droning. He had droned up to 54 workers. Like, he was transitioning, and Astrea just had no way to really come back from that. So, just a bit of a hard time Astrea had there. We saw uncharacteristically, again, him making a couple of mistakes here and there this series. But I actually don't have confirmation. If he's playing in this, I imagine Astrea's in Korea again? Is he?
That's what I was wondering, because
yeah,
that's what I was wondering, because I know that there were talks of Astrea wanting to go back to Korea, wanting to practice once again, bunk up with his roomie Zaun once more, but I'm not too sure. I imagine he's in Korea, but he could just be a degen and playing from California.
Yeah, I know he went back to America for the holidays, like for Christmas, but I'm not sure if he's back in Korea or still in the land of the Americas. And I was just trying to, like, figure out if maybe he was playing with some extra latency or not, or if it's a bad hour for him. Regardless, GG gets called. Solar having a bit of an easier time here. We saw him kind of struggle against Classic, but he had a lot more freedom here against Astrea. He
warmed up.
Yeah, he was warmed up.
He's acclimated. Oof. And with that, Solo will be the first player to make it to the semifinals, but he is going to be waiting quite a while for an opponent, which is going to be either Gumiho or Dark. Meanwhile, though, shortly after this series ended, two other series finished up. Ragnarok beat Creator 2-1 and will be in the other semifinals. And
Oh.
meanwhile, this is the big result for me. Cure just 2-0'd Hero and will be facing Ragnarok in a TvZ semifinals.
Wow, I'm a little bit shocked here because I'll be honest, Cure has been a bit of a punching bag recently. Especially against the other DPG boys, against Dark and Hero specifically. Cure's been having a hard time. So I'm really impressed. Historically, Cure, he is typically the Terran representative in these ESL Open Cups, and it's really cool to see him come out here and come out swinging, come out strong.